Seven & I wants to be treated as a company in these critical security risk areas such as aerospace, nuclear energy, and rare earths.
Rare earths. Yeah, that's the interesting part of this. I mean, obviously, when this news of the deal, which Couche-Tard of Canada has described as being a friendly, non-binding offer, there hasn't been a lot said by either side, other than, of course, Seven & I has appointed an independent board of outside directors to kind of assess this bid. But this is giving us, if what the sources are saying is true, kind of a window into the thinking of Seven & I that perhaps Ryuichi Isaka, the president and CEO, and the board are sort of lacing up their boxing gloves for a potential fight with the backing, they hope, of the Japanese government. That's where it would be very interesting if the Japanese government sort of comes to their aid in what could be a protracted fight. We'll have to see. Basically, Seven & I, according to the sources, is seeking core status for its company from the Japanese government under the Foreign Exchange and Foreign Trade Act. That would be an upgrade from non-core designation under the law. That would mean, if they get granted that, the Ministry of Finance of Japan would have to vet any entity that is seeking to buy at least a 10% stake in another company that is designated as core. So that's why this is a core consideration, obviously, for Seven & I if they want to rebuff this bid. Because you're absolutely right, Sherry. I mean, core companies, that designation is usually in areas, sectors that have national security implications. You mentioned that. Anything to do with the military, rare earths, nuclear power, and the like. Are convenience stores in that same category? Well, that's the big argument. And the thing that, according to the sources, that Seven & I is arguing is that they provide essential services, food and supplies, essentially with a 21,000 plus stores all across Japan, open 24 hours a day. They provide these services and essentials at a time of natural disasters. They also do official document services. You can get official documents through Seven & I. They also have banking services and the like. It is these services and these stores you're seeing here are ubiquitous across Japan. But is it a core business? We'll have to see whether, of course, the Japanese government designates that.
And this is something of a litmus test for the Japanese government, right? Because they have taken protectionist positions in the past. So much of the sort of, market exuberance on Japan this time around are expectations of a more open regulatory environment.
Well, yeah, this is another very interesting. That's why we're really fascinated with this story, because, again, the backside of this as well is that Value Act Capital, an activist investor, has been fighting for a long time to get Isaka and the board to basically unlock shareholder value for the core business of Seven & I. Seven & I is 7-Eleven and the merger with Ito Yokodo, their department store that has been underperforming, and they've already, in April, said that they're going to look for a potential separate listing. So they are listening, but they have not acquiesced to the demands necessarily of a total split up of this company that Value Act Capital has called for. But that the base of this is, Couche-Tard has 9 times more enterprise value per store, and it's a much smaller company, but it has a much bigger market cap than Seven & I. So again, shareholders might say this offer from Couche-Tard makes a lot of sense. But again, will there be protectionist sentiment coming from Japan? Because in 2008, concerns over power supply and nuclear energy led Japan, for example, to block the London-based Children's Investment Fund from buying stakes in J-Power. So you're absolutely right, Heidi. There have been instances of protectionist behavior on the part of regulators in Japan. But they also have new corporate guidelines in Japan aimed at injecting more vigor into corporate Japan through improved governance and protections for investors. So that's why we're going to have to really look at this very closely to see what side the government takes on this.